when I'm reading a book, every line I read, I'm practically asking myself, how does this relate to my life?
What I do is I read multiple books at the same time around. This works very well for me.
I would completely disagree with that.
That just every book I look for, what's the one main killer take?
There's some books that I have on my yearly repeat. So one of them being What It Takes. And every time I read it, there's something new.
How does one filter the harams?
They're extremely dangerous. So this is why everyone needs to know their aqeedah.
How do you decide this is the next book that I need to read?
I go by authors, not the book. First, I'll figure out what's my broad bottleneck right now, what I'm trying to solve, what I'm trying to get better at. So for example,
No, that's not what I do. What I do, I look at great practitioners recommending the book to me. If you read what everyone else reads, you'll think like everyone else. But if you read what others don't read, you'll think how others don't think.
What is one line you read in a book that you've like memorized word for word and absolutely like changed your life?
This one I read recently.
So you want to do hijrah, but you're worried about finances. How will you fund the move? Now, it's true, you can make hijrah with very little to many countries. However, I know for some of you, you want to go to particular countries and those will require a certain level of finances for you to be able to do so. Well, if you're looking for a way to make money online that doesn't require you to be tied down to a specific location, then you might be interested in the Influencer Marketing Agency Accelerator that teaches people how to start making money online even if they have zero previous business experience. The success rate is incredible, Allahumma barik. I've seen with my very own eyes the number of success stories. Many brothers who have actually ended up being able to make hijrah off the back of the money they've been able to make through this business model and mentorship. Me personally, guys, I find it very hard to trust people and recommend people, but wallahi, Allah is my witness. I trust the brother Abu Lahia who runs this, and therefore I would genuinely recommend it to you if you are looking for a way to make money online. With that said, it's not easy, it's not cheap, but I highly recommend, at the very least, you check it out. I'll leave the link in the description for those of you that are interested. With that said, let's get back into the episode, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. One of the most requested things that we've been getting from you guys is you want us to do book reviews. Books that have affected us, impacted our lives, so that you can also read those same books and likewise be impacted. So inshallah, we will be starting a series where we'll have episodes on various different topics where we will be going through books, their core lessons that we've taken, key takeaways and benefits that you can take. In today's episode, it will be an introduction to the importance of books, and we'll mention a couple of books that we feel like can be mentioned here. It's a muqaddimah, as they say, a little introduction. And then in future episodes, we'll be doing deep dives from there onwards, inshallah. With that said, let's start with Sam. You like that? It's like that little deflection. Sam, first and foremost, why and when did you start reading books, and why are books so important?
I think, Shaykh, because this will be a series, I want to give a personal disclaimer from my side. Books are very important. It's been the most important element of me growing personally. But I have soon learned, and I wish I learned sooner, that more than books is the personal mentorship. Being in circles, being in communities that will basically solve your bottlenecks like nothing. Like books can't do ever. It could be business, it could be spiritual, it could be anything, Sheikh. If you are part of a circle, if you're part of a mentorship group, that will solve your problems better than books and much more streamlined. Just to give you an example, because the people, for example, even knowing you brothers for a year and a half now and spending time closely together, I feel like I have grown so much in so many aspects that book wouldn't do for me. And I've been reading books for years, like since I can remember, like going back when I was 6-7 years old, I've been reading books. But of course, purpose and vision change why I'm reading what book. But I've always read books, but I benefit way more now being in these circles. Even coming to this podcast, I'm personally, of course, like honored to be in Chai with my Bai quite regularly. But I look forward not to just like, let my thoughts known to the world, but because I benefit from you brothers. This is like an excuse for me to be here and learn and benefit. Just recently, and Sheikh, we were there at the end, we sat down with, can I mention his name?
Yeah.
We sat down with Dr. Sajid Omar recently. Mashallah, he's a PhD in Islamic finance and whatnot. So at the end, Sheikh, it was like we were sitting down for like 3 hours. And he knows my situation. So no book told me what he told me at the end. You were there, Sheikh, at the end, right? Mm. What he told me, look, Sam, you have Ummah's money with you. Ummah's money. Ummah of who? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. if only you had money of anyone, shaitan would have tried to destroy you. Okay? Because shaitan does not want you to do good as a Muslim. Shaitan would have tried to destroy you, even if you had money of anyone in your projects. But now you have the money of Ummah of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So shaitan now wants to destroy that wealth. Because if that wealth multiplies, that wealth becomes powerful, who benefits? The Ummah of Rasulullah benefits. And shaitan does not want that. So shaitan will attack you, of course, from the front with obstacles and whatnot. But shaitan will also attack you from the back, where it makes you want to do things where you think you're doing it for the good. That you make your mission and vision bigger because you're like, we need it. We need the Sharia compliant. We need this. You just keep pushing yourself from the back. But in the process, you lose the essence. Then the second thing, and I'll end with this, he mentioned, the moment you get desensitized to the money of the Ummah of Rasulullah, I keep mentioning that way, it literally shook me. You get desensitized to it and you don't wake up for the third part of the night, stop raising capital. If you don't wake up for the third part of the night, stop raising capital, stop doing what you're doing. You can't. Shaitan will defeat you. So no book I think is ever written, Shah, that will speak to me like this, you know, because it does not know my specific situation we're trying to achieve. So mentorship always supersedes books. Books is a vehicle, but we should try to spend time with the author. And books is a way to spend time with the author. But for the author to actually speak to you, seek that author and try to be in circles where people can speak to you.
I think a similar principle applies in the deen. For example, if someone has a mas'ala that comes to their mind, right? They're in a situation in the deen and they go to Islam Q&A. And Islam Q&A has an answer. And it mentions this is the situation. If you're in this situation, this is the answer. This is the fatwa, for example. Now, a person might have one small thing that's different in his situation. If he then applies that theory to himself, it can ruin him, ruin his life. He might end up divorcing his wife when he's not supposed to. He might end up taking someone's haqq when actually he was supposed to give it to them, so on and so forth. So you're right, absolutely. Books, they're like, it's the theory, but then the practical side of it, that requires a little bit more
a nice way to understand.
time and effort.
Allah Azza wa Jalla said in the Quran, وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. Allah took you out of the wombs of your mothers and you had no knowledge. So everyone was on zero, right? But then Allah says He gave you ears, He gave you hearing, and then He gave you seeing. So the scholars mention that Allah Azza wa Jalla tells you have no knowledge, and then I give you the things that you can use to acquire knowledge with. And the first thing was your ears, and the second thing was your eyes. So I mentioned even when it comes to, for example, seeking knowledge in the deen or even outside the deen, use your ears before you use your eyes. So use your ears for when you learn from your shaykh or your mentor or your teacher, your guide, your coach. Then use your eyes for what you read, right?
So powerful. Even when we make dua, the askar, we ask for Allahumma afini fi.
Hearing a lot of times.
Then the hearing.
Yep,
then,
yep.
SubhanAllah.
Because hearing, the scholars mentioned, losing your hearing is a greater calamity than losing your sight. The person who's blind can still get a lot done, but the guy who cannot hear, even if you can see, will struggle way more than the guy who cannot hear.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
What can he interpret?
Lip reading.
Say that again?
Lip reading. I would have thought eyes is
No, hearing is way more, bro. So have you come across a scholar that was deaf? But how many scholars you come across that are blind?
Many.
That will tell you sanad, isnad. But I'm sure there might be scholars that are deaf, but I don't know any. Point being is that you're absolutely right. That what you and this is one thing that I've learned. Again, a person who reads a lot will start to see the deficiencies in reading, right? And this is not for the guy who doesn't read at all. But you'll see, for example, like sometimes what you learn, not just from a mentor, but even just doing the work, is so much more than reading it. But what happens is that when you've got a mentor and you've got coach and people that are advancing you in real life, what you're reading becomes amplified. So for example, I'll give you an example. The book, we've spoken about it many times, Whatever It Takes by Stephen Schwartzman, right? If I read that book on my own, I would understand something from it. But now that I've read it, and before I read it, you told me some stuff about it. We discussed it as I was reading it. We've spoken about it after. And the fact that I was even with you and started to understand some of the things that you practice in your life from that book allowed me to take from that book what I would never have taken had I not read it. Had I not spent time with you. Yeah. It was having time with you and reading that book that then created that effect. So you're absolutely right. Reading in a silo is not going to be enough. You got to have mentors. You got to then practice what you preach as well. But it's like a package.
Inshallah.
Fawaz, what impact have books in general had on your life?
Books have changed my life, and alhamdulillah, from Allah's tawfiq and fadl, they continue to change my life. I think there's a moment in everyone's life where they are looking to be at a different level, and no one around them, no one they have access to, is at that level that they're looking for. And this is where books come in.
Yeah.
This is where books really come in, because in order to get that circle, you have to think and talk like them. How can you think and talk like them if you have no one around you, and if you have no access to people like that? You read their books, you understand how they work, you implement those things, and suddenly that group of people become what? Open to you. Like, in all honesty, sometimes, I've even seen, some of the comments, etc. Things like, you're overzealous, or, I was even with a dinner with a brother 2-3 days ago, and he goes, Fawaz, I think your standards are just too high, right? And he goes, I don't think you should change it, but I think you should just understand that when you're dealing with others, that you naturally as an individual, you have super high standards, right? And this is what I get a lot sometimes. And sometimes, I've had this conversation with Sheikh as well. You can feel very, very alone, right? Where it's like, I can't find anyone who holds this common way of thinking as me, who holds this standard, who cares about these little itty bitty things as much as I do. And sometimes you feel crazy. And this is why there's so much benefit in studying. For me, I like to read the older works personally as well, even with business, the older books, right? And it just gives you a different perspective altogether, that no, there's actually a mad method behind your madness, and it's actually kind of the rest of the world that's mad, right? But the example I give is, when everyone is on their knees, the one who stands, he seems tall, right? So we've just come to such a crazy society today that things that aren't really high standard have become a high standard, if that makes sense. Like, basic things have become a high standard, like, keeping to your word and all of these things. Being extra, it's just this little situation, or being on time. All these things. Does that make sense? But it's just because the bar has dropped so low these days.
How do you normally consume books? Because there's many different ways, right? You can read a physical book. You can read a book on a Kindle, for example, or a PDF. You can listen to an audio book. Like, how do you personally consume books, and what do you believe is the best way to consume?
For me personally, what works is listening and reading at the same time.
At the same time?
At the same time.
So you have the audiobook playing?
Audiobook playing at the speed that I'm reading. So usually it's like 2.5x or sometimes 2x, depending on the reader, and reading the book and taking notes. So then when I'm taking notes and pondering, basically pause the audible and ponder. So I read slow in the sense that I pause a lot.
Okay.
I read fast, but I pause a lot. So it takes me time to finish the book. But when I'm reading fast, but I'll pause, ponder, understand it, take notes, apply it in real life, put it in my systems, in my Notion.
As you're going through it?
As I'm going through it. So actually studying the book instead of reading.
What about you, Fawaz?
Yeah, if you open my books, sometimes I try to gift people my books and stuff. It's practically unable to be used by anybody other than myself. Like, my book looks like a children's coloring book or something. It's just, I've just edited it. I've written in my own personal stories. Because there's one thing I do when I'm reading a book that for me makes the book so much better, right? Every line I read, I'm practically asking myself, how does this relate to my life, or how can I use this in my life? Does that make sense? So any author, any line the author uses, all right, straight away I'm thinking, is there time in my life where I've seen that situation, or can I even bring something in order to understand it? Because the quickest way to understand a new concept is to match it against something you already understand. So in my books, you'll find a lot, like, I'm noticing I'm writing old situation that happened that applies to what the author is talking about and how I should have applied his lesson in that situation, and I would have got a different outcome, right? And there's even notes to self, and then I have a different color for the things I need to go back on and actually implement. So I'm not going to lie, my books look like a research paper. It's butchered.
So these gifts are special. Whoever you give these books to, it's special.
So,
what about you, man?
So I've been developing my consumption methodology. Where I'm at currently right now. Look, first things first is that I don't think you can copy and paste any one of our methods.
No, of course, right? That's why I'm asking each person. Everyone's different.
I think everyone's going to have their own unique thing, and you're going to maybe test this one, and you're going to find your thing. Yeah. So what I do is I read multiple books at the same time right now. This works very well for me. And the reason is because, and I'm not talking about the books that I'm studying, as in there's books that I study for my Islamic studies. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about stuff that I read outside of that, because that's like very syllabus heavy education. I have to go through this book. So I'm talking about outside of that, right? So I will read an Islamic book, not part of my Islamic education, just something that's dini, shara'i, something like, nice that I'll read. At the same time, I'm reading something super, super technical. This super, super technical book, I will not listen to it on audiobook because it's one where I have to really engage with it, right? I have to really engage with this one. And usually this is the one that I'm reading the slowest and I'm enjoying. It's usually like a big, dense book, dense concepts. It's hard to kind of swallow. Then I will be reading a book that is, standard book, like as in not too technical, whatever have you. But I'll audiobook it and I'll also read it at the same time, exactly what Sam does. And those ones usually retain the best because you're listening, so you're activating your hearing. You're also then activating your eyes, right? So you're using two modes of knowledge consumption at the exact same time. So usually that retention is very, very powerful.
There's also a big one.
Sorry, go on.
I will flip and find a nerd like myself, and I'm gonna talk about it with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's
like, this is huge for me.
That
in
is
terms of retention.
Yeah, that's
Someone.
Yeah, I like
That would help.
and break it down with them.
so. Before we come to retention, because I think that is an important point to discuss, just in terms of the method that I use, because I do want to dive into that. Is then I'll also have a book that's purely just audio. So I'll have a book that's purely reading and audio, and then audio, and then the audio book is usually something
Shallow.
Yeah,
I was going to say the same thing.
Yes, it might be shallow. But it's also something that is
A bit entertaining. Not entertaining, but
no. It's something I kind of have to read, but it's not the biggest priority. So and it's basically I heard something from Ali Abdal. The reason I started is because of something Ali Abdal said. I don't really watch the guy, but I can't lie. Sometimes he comes with some gems.
okay.
So he was like, stop watching podcasts. Because when you spend an hour and a half, 2 hours watching podcasts, hearing people talk on a podcast. But sarahatan, yeah? He was like, just listen to audiobooks. Because this podcast, how long do you think people, a 2 hour podcast, how long do you think they took to prepare?
Maybe an hour, 2 hours.
Maybe even less, maybe more. But he goes, a guy who has a
Book.
4 hour book, right? Which you're reading on
decades,
double speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe decades. Yeah.
If at the very least a year.
At the very least, yeah.
Just for 4 hours of material. He's like, every week just finish an audiobook. Trust me, you'll grow more. So I was like, if that's the case, let me start that. So and then the last thing I do, and wallahi, my father used to tell me to do this, and I just used to always think, no, dad, I just can't rate this. But wallahi, it's had so much benefit. Is reading fiction. But not just like random fiction, like good literature. So currently I'm reading Voltaire. You know Voltaire?
No.
Bro, he's got one funny book, bro. It's called Candid or Optimism. It's basically about a kid who just goes around facing all sorts of calamity, and the calamities are funny, but they're tragic. And he's just so optimistic. But you know those guys that are optimistic? Basically he's green. He's a green. And they don't do anything to change their circumstance. So he's basically the book is mocking people that are like, oh, it's life. It's qadar Allah. You can't do anything. Of course, qadar Allah, but like, take the means. Point being is that so an Islamic book, and a fiction, like a novel, it's like something classic, a book that I'll read without audio, and that's usually like dense, complicated. A book that I'll read audio and actual reading it, and then one which is just.
Can I ask a question here? And I'm just going to throw a spanner in the works. I'm so interested. What is one line you read in a book that you've like memorized word for word and absolutely like changed your life?
One line.
Yeah, like a line. Maybe there was something in like a piece you read in a book that just spun everything. Like it's almost memorized and embedded in your mind. Because out of all the lines of a book, sometimes you stumble across this one line and it's like, wallahi, this made the whole book worth it.
We're not talking about the Quran. You don't mean.
No, of course.
Do you guys want to hear something depressing? I've been searching for a halal investment opportunity with high returns for over 15 years. And other than Bitcoin, regretfully, I never found anything solid. The opportunities I found always had one of three issues. It was either haram disguised as halal, or it was super risky and volatile, or it had painfully low returns. I'm talking the type where they mention you make your first million when you're 50. But that all changed when I interviewed the most impressive real estate investor I've ever met, Brother Sam Amin. I interviewed him on my podcast, Righteous and Rich. And he blew my mind away with a halal real estate investment opportunity where he's helping his investors get 50% returns in 2 years. Allahumma barik. In fact, some of the most well-known students of knowledge and well-respected businessmen have invested with him and made hundreds of thousands and even millions. Allahumma barik. And get this, it's actually halal. There are no dodgy fatwas. There's no tricks. It's 100% halal. But there is a catch. There's always a catch. The catch is you have to have at least $100,000 liquid ready to invest within the next 30 days to qualify for his current development project in Dubai, where it's projected that he's going to be giving 50% returns to his investors over a 2-year period, inshallah. So if you're interested and you'd like to book a call with this team, you can do so at the link below. But just a heads up, if you don't have the $100,000 ready to deploy in 30 days, they won't take that call. With that said, let's get into the podcast. It's not going to make sense if you haven't read the book, because this is from a fiction book. But let me say it. Let me try to give it. No matter what he does, every person on earth plays a central role in the history of the world, and normally he doesn't know.
So what I'm saying, no matter what he does, every single person
plays a central role in the history of the world.
Do you agree with that?
100% I agree with that.
Wow.
Every single one of us contributes towards the world.
That's very true.
A significant impact on the history of the world.
Every single person.
Kaif.
If you choose to just be a bum, you're contributing towards the history of this world being bad. If you choose to not make use of your potential and the tools that Allah has given to you.
And that's why the sins of one of our sins affects the ummah, right?
Bro, it's very powerful, bro. Not just that, if one of you, let's just say you become the one man that changes your corner of the world, right? That will compound. Maybe centuries from now. Maybe centuries. You know, it will make sense if you read the whole book. Because,
Sheikh Sam, do you have a line?
Sorry again?
I'm trying to exactly quote it, but I'll paraphrase. The line is basically from the book Relentless by Tim Grover. Are you familiar with his work, Seth? I think we spoke about him. Yeah, we spoke about him in our thing. Yeah. So there's a line like they crave the results so much that the work is irrelevant. Something along that line, where it does not matter what, how, where, why. It's just the results. That's what you're pursuing. That's what we need to get, regardless of how many no's, how many obstacles, whatever happens. And the reason I mentioned this, because another thing about books, sometimes maybe in the next videos we'll suggest books, right?
Yeah.
But it might not be the right book for you at the stage of life you're in right now.
Barakallahu feek.
So it's different stages. What I'm reading right now, or even when we follow the authors in their real life, let's say they're on social media, and when we follow them, what they're doing, people can be misguided completely. And I'm talking misguidance as in the business sense, because they're seeing what the guy is doing when he is at 9-figure, when he's at 10-figure, and you think you could do the same thing. You think you could splurge all this money into this thing the way he's doing it, but you don't know what he did when he was 18 years old at your time, right? So for me, this book was very important because it was the early years. Relentless. The crucial years of life.
Food for the adult is poison to the baby.
You have it right now?
Very good. Yes, I have it because I was going to give it to Fahad. So I have it with me.
What's your
You're
line?
gifting it to him.
Yeah.
My line. Okay, I'll give a recent one anyway. It's not the biggest one, but it's one that's been making me think a lot. If you do not make the unconscious conscious, it will guide your life and you will call it fate.
If you do not make the unconscious conscious,
it will guide your life and you will call it fate.
You live life like sleeping
Yeah.
walk,
autopilot,
sleepwalk.
and then you say,
And this is
Qadarullah.
majority of people, right?
Yeah.
Qadar Allah ma sha fa'al. And
Which is qadar Allah, but
Yes.
understanding qadar
free will and
means,
qadar.
yeah.
Yes, but they continue to get in these situations, and every time, for example,
Say it again?
until you make the unconscious conscious, it will guide your life and you will call it fate. These things just keep happening to you, and you're like, why? I keep getting in this situation. No problem, Sheikh. Yarhamakumullah. I keep getting in this situation. Like I sometimes I meet people and they're like, I think somebody done sihr on me, or I think somebody did black magic. And sometimes maybe, right? But the majority of times it's like this brother just hasn't realized that, like, for example, let's say somebody has the trait that he is dishonest, but he's not aware of this trait of dishonesty in him, and he believes it to be what? That he's an honest person. And it constantly affects him in every way, shape or form. It negatively affects him. He keeps getting in situations that are problematic, right? And people don't want to work with him, and this, that, and the next. And he can't understand why, right? His whole life, he just thinks it's qadarullah. But he wasn't able to turn this point. It's so crazy to me. Because majority of us, even the ones that are self-aware, we're not self-aware to a degree where we see how something within us is affecting us in every step of our life right now.
Two things it reminds me, Sheikh. One is Ustad Tim Humble. I think he's going over a poem. So it's my bad. I forgot the exact poem's name and the poet. But basically, there's a line in Arabic that literally translates to, "We're sleepwalking to Jahannam."
SubhanAllah.
This is literally what the Fawaz just mentioned. Literally, like sometimes we're living life. Imagine we're sleepwalking, but the destination is Jahannam. The way we're sleepwalking. You know, SubhanAllah.
I just want to come to the point about retention, because look, you know, when you asked me that question about what's the one line that changed your thinking, I actually struggled to think of it, which is why I mentioned something that come recently, and I had to even pull it out and read it. What would have been an easier question for me to answer, personally, is what's the one thing or lesson that you took from a book? And the reason for that is because of my method of retention, right? So some people are able to, for example, retain like very specific details. I spoke to my sheikh about this because I was like reading so much as a sheikh, I don't really feel like I retain a lot of what I read. And again,
I would completely disagree with that when it comes to you.
Right, so it's concepts. It's concepts. I retain a lot of concepts, a lot of principles, but like word for word. Like I done a podcast with this brother called Adam Bhatti,
The pilot.
the pilot brother. He's such an interesting guy. I almost wanted to cancel the podcast. I told Harun, I'm not interested in pilots. I don't think my audience cares. But he's like, no, trust me, the guy's interesting. He's such an interesting brother, Allah Bari. But one of the things about him that was so interesting was, bro, he's able to spit out quotes. He reads a lot as well. He's an avid reader. He's just spitting out word for word, verbatim quotes. But obviously, Allah Bari, his memory is great. Like he had to become great at memory. When being a pilot, you've got to memorize all these lists, so they teach all these memorization techniques.
Even as a train driver, your memory has to be mad sharp.
Yeah.
Same thing, because there's things, if something goes wrong, you need to know exactly what to do, and there's regular tests that they do to make sure that you remembered it.
Yeah.
Because it's a pilot, train driver, you got people's lives in your hands.
Yeah,
pilot, I would say more so, and there's probably way more things that they need to memorize and learn. But even simple things like, you know, checklists, they have checklists for every single thing, for the things you've done a million times. You still have to go through, no matter how senior of a pilot you are, there's a pre-flight checklist.
But point being was that's not me, right? But what I am able to do, like one of the things that made it easy, I told you, we discussed it with Brother Jamal, right? He actually gave me the permission. It's for funny, you need someone to give you permission. But you know when someone says something, it gives you permission to do it yourself. He's like, just every book I look for, what's the one main killer takeaway that I can take from this book? Just the one main killer takeaway. And that's what I do, like, as in, because you don't realize you become anxious and stressed over trying to retain everything that you actually don't retain anything. So what's the one thing? So I think let's talk about retention. So what are your retention?
I'm similar to you, Sheikh. I think it's Brother Fawaz mentioned one powerful thing: discussing with people
that's
around
massive.
you. For me, I have to discuss. I have to like literally go over the concept with my family, with my team, whoever it's relevant to. I have to discuss it, start implementing it, put things in process. But there has to be mental like gymnastic in that sense, like discussing. Second, asking questions along that line and going through concepts. Like what's the core concept the author is trying to portray? So just going over concepts and revisions. There are some books that I have on my yearly repeat. Like I read them every year. I finish them every year. So one of them being What It Takes. And every time I read it, there's something new. It's like author is talking to me because he had started the journey from one place and he's already at a place where inshallah we're trying to go, right? So every time I read that book, he's talking to me with new angles, new stories, and things make more sense for me now than last year because I have faced some things practically. It's making sense. So revisions.
So discussing it seems to be primary.
The book that I would say that I retained the best for some reason is .com Secrets. But I think the reason for that was that book, where I read that one is, so first I read it once, just cover to cover without any pauses, stops, breaks, whatever. Then the second time I read it straight after the first time. And this time I took notes, went through each one, and it was actually on my laptop and I was taking notes, and I basically summarized the entire book in my own words. And I haven't done that for any other book. And I feel like the reason why I was able to retain that one so well is because of
and I think you started implementing it too, right?
And this is what affects it.
Implementing it straight away.
Just in time learning. You learn something just in time.
Yeah.
At the time where you need to learn that thing. This is massive. It's a big difference. Like sometimes I get these, people, these kids that, what are you reading right now? I'm like, bro, what is it to you what I'm reading right now? In the most respectful way possible. I've built XYZ business. I'm at XYZ stage in life. You're literally starting. What is the relevancy to you right now what I'm reading?
Exactly.
Ask me what, a better question would be, what did you read when you were exactly where I am now? So I think that the discussion one, and this is for me a big, massive one, right? Especially, by the way, as a leader, I really believe you should be, of course, training your team. This is the biggest cheat code for me. How I used to retain books, right? Whatever I learn in a book, I just train my team based on that same thing because it's important for them to know it as well, of course, right? So that's for me is always going to be a massive way. Like I remember one of the books that I just till today. It's gotten like a special space on my bookshelf, which very few books get, is Integrity by Dr. Henry Cloud. And I know when people hear the title Integrity, they're going to think it's a book about being honest, and it's really nothing to do with that side of integrity. It's much deeper. But when I read that book, I feel like just going through, it's like every page was like a burst in my mind, like, damn, subhanAllah, I have a lot to change. Right? So what I would do at the end of every chapter, and again, for me, this is it depends on the book as well. A book about personal development, I'd treat it very differently to how I'd go through a business book or how I'd go for an Islamic book. Does that make sense?
How does one filter the haram stuff from? Because for example, like there was a book that you guys read, right? You and Adam, I think, were reading it. It's called, was it the Sign of Ravikant?
Yeah.
What's it called?
The Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I remember like every few pages, you man were like, bro, this guy, this is mad shirky, like. Yeah. But then there was stuff where you're like, bro, this is mad powerful. And so how does a regular person who might not have that knowledge per se,
very dangerous,
be like dive into these books and not be affected?
Extremely dangerous, and they're extremely dangerous. So this is why everyone needs to know their aqidah. Like for example, look, there was a man. His name was Abdul Razak al-San'ani. He was the Sheikh of Imam Ahmed, who's the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The Sheikh of Imam Ahmed. He produced Imam Ahmed.
Yep.
This Sheikh ended up having some of the beliefs of the Shia into him. He adopted Tashayyu, which is some of the Shia creed. They asked him, where did this come from? He said, there was a Shi'i Sheikh who I was amazed by his manners. And I used to listen to him because of his manners. And then some of his beliefs entered to me. And one of the first podcasts we did was on this topic, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the thing. Like, for example, if I'm reading a book now, even the fact that, alhamdulillah, with Allah's tawfiq, I've studied Aqeedah probably more than any other subject in the religion, right? From all the other subjects I study. So I can pick these things out. But it got to a point where I was like, all right, I've picked it out, and it's not affecting me, alhamdulillah, at least not now, with Allah's permission, tawfiq. But I'm feeling less disgust as I'm reading it. So now even I force myself, if I read, anytime I come across some kufr and shirk, I have to cross it out.
Physically
cross it. Batil.
Or big fat right.
Yeah, or I correct it. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's just like a personal action I do just to not become desensitized to the filth. Because that's filth. Like we spoke in the previous episode about Diary of a CEO. You know his book about 33 laws of life, business, keda. But one of the first things he brings up is there's no such thing as truth. That's one of the first, and I can't lie, bro. The guy's articulate in how he talks, and it's like, as I read it, I was like, dirty filth. Do you get me?
Yeah, literally as well. Like sometimes even if they write something, I'm amazed by. This is what I do, not to have amazement of them, right? I'll literally just write a hadith that says the same thing. We're like, yeah. Beautiful point. Well articulated. Prophet said the same thing. I'll put in the hadith. That links in the. And I'm very serious. But I know Sheikh does it like a red pen. I take it very seriously, and I scribble it and I write batil. Or, for example, if
Please
they write
false.
universe, I'll scribble it out and write what? Allah. I correct it in the book.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very, very stern on this because people don't realize, like, these guys that write these books, they have a way with words. They
You know
have a
what, like,
sway.
this is why, our brothers need to author. Like, this is one of the reasons, like, you know what?
Students of knowledge and people that are businessmen.
Bro, I'm
different fields.
yeah, I'm sick of it, man. Like, I go, this is a random exercise I do every so often. I go to the bookstore just to look at the names of the authors. Who is a Muslim here, bro? Like, and you know what you'll find? Disproportionately, the authors of the most banging books are Jews. The Jews, like, they've got banging books. Like, every book I'm reading is almost like, you know, it's written by a Jewish author. The Muslims, where are you, brother? And you know what the funny thing? I don't know what it is about us. It's like when we met with that brother, the one who's one of your investors with the £50 million exit, right? Like, my thing is, bro, write a book. Talk to people. But everyone's thing is, I don't want to tell anyone. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I'm like, bro, everyone is talking about it except for us. We have so much amongst us. Like, even your Dr. Imran. I'm telling him, bro, you are the human, bro, of the Muslim world. Today, as he was doing the physio work on me, he was telling me, he was scientifically proving how polygyny is the natural state of human beings. Bro, he inflicted so much pain on me in today's session. But because of how interesting the science he was telling me, bro, wallahi, multiple times I paused and I was like, this is painful, but this is joy. As in the knowledge he's giving me. I'm so engaged. I'm like, bro, why don't we come out there more? Why don't we produce our own? Because even him, because we were talking about there's a particular anthropologist, right? That he was quoting. Now, because I'm familiar with this woman, I was like, you know, she pushes polyandry as well. So be careful.
What is polyandry?
Which is a woman having multiple male partners. He was like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, don't worry, I've already done the research to debunk that. So you see, when a Muslim does it, he was like, look at the flaws in her research, kada, 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 kada. So when there's a Muslim who's talking a particular matter, he's going to give you the Islamic packaging. Do you get me?
In this country, a lot of time you go to the doctors, there's a Muslim guy.
Yeah.
So he will sometimes even give you some Islam and say, take some honey, for example.
Honey, yeah.
Or he will say, do ruqya as well,
they'll say
alongside
do ruqya.
this. Literally.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow.
Do you not feel like I feel a lot of the reasons why is because I believe a lot of us in today's day and age, we lack the ability to actually delay the gratification. Like, it takes a lot to write a book. Like, it takes immense delayed gratification. It's easier to post a video online, get a couple thousand likes. You know what I'm saying? To write a book, it takes a lot of time of no one praising you, no one giving you credit, so you getting no financial benefit, no benefit whatsoever. It actually just takes you doing work.
But there are people that write. That's his point, is that
but
people are writing books.
But I think, but I also think it's just not as in the Islamic world, there is a code. In the Arabic world. Just to be clear, bro, even the science stuff in the Arabic world, like from Muslims, is mind-blowing. Like, there's personal development stuff. I actually want to do a session one day on just the personal development books from the Arab world that are Islamic. Like, bro, mind-blowing stuff. It's a different world. I'm talking about English. As English-speaking Muslims, right? We just don't have a culture of producing literature. And you know why that's tragic? My sheikh, who's an expert in the Arabic language, right? Is trying to study English. I said to him, why, sheikh? He said, because the research has been produced in English. We don't have it in Arabic. Now, Arabic is first, because that's where all the Islamic studies is. But he wants to understand the world so he can give Islamic rulings on it. He's like, I have to study the English language for that case. I'm saying, we who speak English, why don't we produce, bro? Where is our science? Where is our history? We do, but it's so far and few. Where's our work on economics? Where's our work on, on international relations? Where is that? It's tragic that we don't have it.
Sam, another question comes to my mind when it comes to books. How do you decide on whether to read a book or not? Like, how do you decide this is the next book that I need to read? What are the things that have to happen, or what's the process before you actually decide, you know what, I'm going to read this book?
So I go by authors, not the book, right? So first I'll figure out what's my broad bottleneck right now, what I'm trying to solve, what I'm trying to get better at. So for example, currently the book I'm studying, I would say, is Blue Ocean Strategy. And so basically that book goes over how you don't compete in the existing ocean and create a red ocean. You go outside of the ocean and create your own blue ocean. For example, like Southwest Airlines. So they, instead of competing with the larger airlines, they said, we're going to compete with the taxi rides, with the road trips. And we're going to say, like, you know, why do a road trip for 7 hours? You could go there in an hour and the cost will be the same. So we're going to create our new ocean where we compete with the road trip guys and make it airlines, right? So you have to come up with your ocean. What are you competing in? You create the space. You create the industry.
The science of creating a niche.
Yes.
That book, like, you know, people like niche, what are them? That book gives you a step-by-step formula of how to create a niche.
And that book was one of the books I read too early in my life. I read it in 2017. I did not understand anything. Literally, like, I was like, nothing is making sense to me.
So many times.
Yeah. And then now I started reading it from last year. I'm reviewing it again. Oh my God. This is like a book you cannot put down. So the thing is, what is I am trying to solve right now? Number one, question. And number two, who is far ahead than me and who's also writing books, basically? That author, I'm going to just devour everything. So for example, when it came to the stage like 2021, 2022, like managing, not leadership, like management. Leadership is one thing, management is another thing. I was a really bad manager, right? So I started devouring Patrick Lencioni. I don't know if I'm like...
Patrick Lencioni.
Yes, pronounce his last name. So like the book, The 5 Temptations of a CEO. Oh my God. I thought the book is just speaking to me. Oof. Like speaking to me. What are the, like, I was like, man, I have all these 5 temptations. This is exactly my problem. These are the
5 dysfunctions of a team.
The 5 dysfunctions of a team, the 5 temptations of a CEO, naked team. Like, you know, these are like crazy books, brother. But you gotta be in this stage where your bottleneck is solving management.
That's what
So you find the author. Oh, sorry, first you find the niche.
Yes.
Then find a good author within that niche, and then you just consume all of his books.
All of his books. Study all of his books, because then you're really spending time with him. Then you have really attended all his masterminds, everything he's trying to do, because he's evolving as well with the books.
Do any of you guys ever look at, like, you know, just like the bestsellers or the most reviewed or any of that, or you don't find books like that?
No, that's not what I do. What I do is I look at great practitioners recommending the book to me. I can see something's a bestseller. That's just popular, maybe. That might just be pop culture. It is an indication the book is good. But also, you know what it is, bro? I came across this quote by a sheikh in Arabic. He said, if you read what everyone else reads, you'll think like everyone else. But if you read what others don't read, you'll think how others don't think. And I don't want to read the bestseller that's got 2, 3, 4 million copies sold. That usually is a good sign. That usually is going to be a decent book. Very seldom have I found personally that a book that is a massive bestseller is an amazing book. Every book that I've read that's like amazing, majority of the time, sometimes they've sold, but sometimes it's not even about how many it's been sold.
Yeah.
It was because it was recommended by a killer in that field. Do you understand? So I will look at who recommended it. One guy for me, I'll be honest with you, anytime Sam mentions a book to me, I write it down. Because so far, he's had 100% track record. Every book he's told me to read, now I'm going to look at this relentless thing now. I don't know who to get this first.
No, you're past that.
Yeah?
You're past that.
Okay. So you know what? I'll take that from you.
Yeah.
I will never look at it in my life, inshallah.
Yeah, you're past that.
My point being is that's a big thing for me. I'll also go into ChatGPT and I'll say, yo, look, what are the books on this topic? And it will spit out. I'll give him. That's why the just-in-time learning thing, what he mentioned, is so powerful, right? Which is that what is the problem that I'm experiencing right now? What's a book that will solve the problem? And I talk to ChatGPT. I say, then I'll tell him, prove to me this book is good. Give me guys that are masters in this field, in this particular area that I've recommended this book. And then I'll go and I'll watch the book summaries online. Do you understand? I collect reading lists of great men and also great authors. Great authors. What was it?
I said women. He said men. And I thought he said women.
I put them together.
Oxymoron.
Yeah. So
no. One second.
They're great women. They're great women. Look, great humans. Yeah, great insan. I mean, so far I haven't found a reading list from a great woman yet. But if there's one that's relevant to me, please let me know. Reading list. Like, for example, even though I disagree with this guy on multiple levels, but Patrick Bet-David's got a very good reading list. right?
Okay, like
Right.
recommendations.
We
Recommendations.
should beep his name. We should.
Yeah, beep the Shaitan's name.
Yeah.
Another guy, Bill Gates, his reading book recommendation. So great practitioners, when they read Hormozi's got a very good reading list. He's got 15 books that he mentioned, or 10 books that he mentioned. Wallahi, very good reading list.
I mean, after the end of this series, inshallah, we're going to have a Chamabai reading
Bi'idnillah.
list.
Bi'idnillah. Yeah, you're right. Oh, you're right.
Absolutely.
You're right. There should be a child by reading list, bro.
Absolutely.
But then sometimes you got great authors. Great authors are great readers by nature. So for example, what's my man? Your guy's name? Adahullah. What's his name?
Michael-
The Stoic.
Yeah, what's his name?
Ryan Holiday.
Ryan Holiday. That
Daily
guy's got
Stoic.
bad boy
Oh
reading
my
list.
goodness.
Yeah, that guy.
By the way, his books, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro.
They're good.
He's
They're very-
one of the best in terms of articulation. Like, forget like the concepts, like in terms of his ability to articulate a point and like bring it home. Personally, he's the best.
But you know what makes him so good is because he's a great reader.
Yeah, he reads
also,
a lot.
Also, there's one particular author in the Arabic language, who I want to, when we talk in the series, I'll go into more. He's such an amazing author, bro, that when he recommends any book, I swallow it. And he recommends you English and Arabic books. There's actually, in one of his books, it's called Sana'atul Aql, the developing of the intellect, or the construction of the intellect, yeah? He mentions a reading list of 25 books. Bruh, swallow that. Every single one, just that. But the last thing that I'll mention, what I do when it comes to reading a book, and I think this is the most important, is istikhara. And that's for multiple reasons. Number one, bro, I'm about to give hours of my life to reading this book. And there's many things I can read on this particular topic. Is this the one I should read? Like, for example, right? I need to read a book on management, in time learning. So I actually bought Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And I literally ordered it, came to my house, and then I was like, wait, let me make istikhara. SubhanAllah, it just so happened that then after making istikhara, I came across another book called Multipliers. And it made sense to me more to read that. But I literally had the book check just delivered, and I didn't read it. And not because the book is bad, it's great, I've heard, but honestly, the problem that I had, the book Multiply solved it, not that book.
Yep.
It was because that's the dysfunctions of the team. This was dysfunction of a leader. I had the problem. So istikhara is good. Also, when it comes to the issue of doubts and shubuhat coming into you from reading a book, istikhara will also help you.
So,
Do you know what I'm saying?
and I think a key point here is one of the things that I do. It's very strange, but there's a little note I like to write at the start of a book, and then when I'm also finished the book. In terms of like my biggest shift in perspective, how did I feel and what was I thinking when I started this book? Because sometimes something has to take a back seat. For example, I want to be able to come back to what was Fawaz thinking at the moment he had ordered and wanted to read this book.
Very deep.
And now what is he thinking by the end of this book? It's something I recently started about three months ago after I came back from that Umrah trip. And it's something that I've found is really good. It just shows me my mindset shift from beginning to end. Yeah.
Very deep.
Barik.
Very deep. Allah barik.
Khair, I think that's
Oh,
it.
and great CEO within is Matt Mockery or something like that. Is a great book, by the way. Especially when you're going from that stage of doing business at Yahaga, like backguarding business, to like actually trying to run like a proper professional enterprise company.
Brother Muhammad Imran from the network, one of the cybersecurity company recommended.
Yeah, there you go. Matt Mockery, the great CEO within, something like that.
Yeah.
But whenever you're trying to get professional, great book.
So, as mentioned, inshallah, there'll be many more episodes to come where we do different breakdowns. And by the way, we're not going to mention, there's not going to be a separate playlist for this. You just have to make sure you watch every single episode because you don't know when it's going to drop. So make sure you're there. And with that said, we'll see you on the next episode. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.